In this video we will learn about other demand elasticities such as cross price elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand. Now let's start with cross price elasticity of demand. It measures by how much quantity demanded of product A changes when price of product B changes. This is the formula we will be using to calculate the cross price elasticity of demand. So if we apply the definition on the formula, we have in the numerator percentage change in quantity demanded of product A divided by percentage change in the price of product B. So we're looking at the relationship between product A and product B here. Now let's have a look at the actual formula for calculating the cross price elasticity of demand. We'll be using this, we'll be using this ARC method formula. Now here it looks a little daunting, but it is a very easy formula to work with. So in the numerator we have initial quantity demanded of product A and then subsequent quantity of product A. In the denominator we have the average of the two quantities. Yes. Now the whole ratio is then divided by another ratio, that's the change in the price of product B. So in the numerator we have the subsequent price, and the second one is the initial price here. So P1B indicates it's the initial price, P2B is the subsequent price, and in the denominator of this ratio we now have the average of the prices. Yeah? This is the commonly used arc cross price elasticity formula. Now the results of this calculation will tell us whether the two goods are substitutes or complements. We'll talk about this range of values that this cross price elasticity takes in this slide now. So if the cross price elasticity is greater than 0, as in here, then we're looking at a positive value. Yeah? So let's take an example. If price of iPhone increases and that leads to the higher demand for Samsung phones, then these goods are usually substitute goods. Yeah. Now if the cross price elasticity is equal to 0, then the goods are not related to each other. Yeah. So in this case, change in the price of iPhone will not affect the quantity demanded of bread. So these are unrelated goods. And if you have a negative cross price elasticity, then the two goods are complementary goods. So they complement each other. In other words, complementary goods are those goods that are purchased together. For example, if the price of petroleum, for example, increases, then it's likely that in the long run demand for cars will decrease. Yeah, so quantity demanded for cars decrease. So they are complementary goods. Now another important point here is about the strength of relationship between the two goods. If the absolute value of the cross price elasticity between two goods is greater than 0.5, then that means these two products are good substitutes or good complements. Yeah, so these two products are sort of close substitutes or close complements. Now let's look at two products. These are game console and video games. So assume that the initial and subsequent price of games console are P1C equal to 12 and P2C equal to 9 respectively. So the price has decreased, and the initial quantity of video games was 5 quantities, but later it's now 10. So I should say units. Yeah, 5 units up to 10 units now after the price of console video game consoles decreased. Now we need to now calculate the cross price elasticity between these two goods. So we first calculate the numerator value in the cross price elasticity formula, that's percentage change in quantity demanded of product G. Subsequent quantity, initial quantity, the difference is basically 10 minus 5 equal to 5, and in the denominator here we have the average value of the two quantities, which is basically 7.5. So 5 over 7.5 is 0.667 times by 100 gives us this value for percentage change. Now we'll calculate the denominator of the cross price elasticity formula, and that is this one here. So the price after change, price before the change, so we now have the difference between them is 9 minus 12, that's giving us minus 3, yeah, and divide that by 21 over 2, so that's 10.5, yeah, so 10.5, and the result is, by the way, this is minus, yeah, so the result is minus 28.5%. yeah, this is the percentage change in the price. So we're looking at here now the sensitivity of quantity demanded, or demand, for this product G, or games consoles, I mean the games I should say, when the console price changes by that much. Yeah, so if you plug this into the formula here, so I can see the negative sign is missing here, so this has to be negative 28.5, so that's minus there. So 10.5 over minus 28.5 gives us minus 2.39. So this value indicates that the two goods are strong complements. So if you take the absolute value of this result, it just simply is greater than 0.5. So these two products are strongly complementary products. They are both together, and the quantity demanded for one of them is very sensitive to the change in the price of the other good. These are some examples of cross price elasticity of demand. As you can see, the residential demand for electric energy with respect to price of gas energy is quite low. That's plus 0.13. First thing, it tells us that these two goods, electric energy and gas energy, are kind of substitutes given the sign, but they are not close substitutes. In other words, they are not strong substitutes or good substitutes, because the value is less than 0.5 in absolute terms. But what it tells us is that when the price of one increases, the quantity demanded will increase as well for the other good. Yeah, and let's look at the next case here. That's a cross price elasticity of demand between beef and pork, and the quantity demanded for beef with respect to the pork prices is 0.25 with a positive sign, so that indicates these are also substitute goods, but not strong substitutes. Again, although they are substitutes, the price change in one of them doesn't actually lead to a drastic change in quantity demanded of the other one as well. And similarly with chicken and beef, again, they are substitutes but not the strong substitutes, yeah, as we saw in the case of games and consoles. Yeah. Income elasticity now. The income elasticity of demand basically measures by how much a quantity demanded of one good changes when a person's income changes. As before, we have in the numerator percentage change in quantity of the product, and in the denominator we have percentage change in the income of the person. Here we have a range of values that income elasticity might take. So let's start with the first range here. This is a range between 0 and 1. So in other words, income elasticity is less than or equal to 1, but is positive. And here, as the income rises, quantity demanded for the product increases. So in other words, as we get richer, our demand for good increases. Usually these products or goods are called normal goods. For normal goods, quantity demanded increases as people earn higher incomes. Yeah? So these are our day-to-day consumption goods, clothing, and some other goods that we usually consume maybe as necessities as well. So these are called normal goods. So this upward sloping line simply tells you that there is a positive relationship between income and demand for the product. However, there are some types of products where income elasticity of demand is basically zero, or very close to zero, in other words. Yeah, so for these goods, whenever the income changes, the quantity demanded basically do not change, yeah, or does not change, I should say. And there are other goods where income elasticity of demand is less than zero, or it's negative basically. Yeah, so these goods are called inferior goods. And as you can see, if income, for example, rises in this range, yeah, as you can see, quantity demanded basically goes down to this point. So these goods usually are inferior goods, not because they are poor quality, but because we consume less of these goods as we get rich. Examples of these goods may include canned goods, supermarkets' own branded goods. As we get richer, the quantity demanded for this type of goods declines. Yeah, so we can also think of such goods as breakfast cereals. Yeah, so initially we may eat cereals, but eventually, as we become richer, we may replace them with sausages. We may replace them with premium type of goods. Yeah, even premium type of cereals as well. We call them inferior goods. Inferior, but not low quality goods. Yeah, it's not related to the quality. For example, there is a high quality baked beans as well. Yeah, but we tend to eat less of them as we get richer in our breakfast. Yeah, so I think I didn't give example for this case. This case be any good, basically any good that doesn't change. I mean, we keep consuming exactly or more or less the same quantity, regardless of, for example, the income we have. Or maybe within certain range of income we always consume them, yeah, without any change, but at some point we may stop consuming them, or we may even increase the consumption of them as well. So there's basically, there is no sort of less sensitivity in the quantity demanded of these goods to the price change, or in this case income change. Among normal goods, there are sort of two types of goods which we call necessities and luxuries. I think I mentioned necessity earlier. Necessities usually command an income elasticity value of less than 1, but they are positive. They are not less than 0 basically, but the income elasticity will usually be less than 1. In other words, regardless of the income level, even if the income is very low, we will still buy them. So these are usually bread, salt, toilet papers. Yeah, so we need them. These are necessities regardless of our income being low or high. We usually buy them. Yeah, but we're not going to buy huge amounts when we are rich. It's not like branded watches or iPhones or some other branded goods where as we get richer, we tend to buy more or multiples of them. Yeah, so we don't sort of, that behavior is not is actually reserved for purchase of luxury goods. Yeah, but so these are necessities. It's the opposite of the luxury goods, where we tend to buy a minimum amount, yeah, even if we are still very rich. And luxury goods usually command high income elasticities. Yeah, they usually command very high income elasticities. As we get richer and richer, we tend to eat restaurant meals and varieties of restaurant meals, and we tend to buy more branded and luxury goods as our income rises. So if the value is for the income elasticity is greater than 1, we can expect that the goods, possibly luxury goods,